You're listening to the Plane Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 269 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings, and not joining me in the PTUK studios this week is Matt Smith. Matt is unfortunately off having a jolly at a wedding somewhere in the UK, and I must say, I'm sorry. Well, I say sorry to say for the bride and groom. It's been a really grim and grotty day here in the UK. Not been very nice at all, considering the really nice weather we've had in the last kind of 5 or 6 days. And luckily we had good weather for Duxford last Sunday, which was great. So also joining me this week via the realms of the internet is the second co-host on the show for tonight's show. It is he's the man who puts the tech in AV. It's Neville Bounds.
Hello, everybody. Great to be back again. And I'm still peeling somewhat from last Sunday, where I failed to apply any sun cream. And I think a few of us were in that boat as well, weren't we, Carlos? But we'll talk more about that later on. But it was a great day. The weather could not have been better. It was fantastic, wasn't it?
So how's your week been then? Have you been obviously cleaning the banana and stuff?
Yeah, well, yes, obviously. That's all I do. Busy week. Was at an exhibition yesterday and went to an evening event as well yesterday. So, yeah, lots going on. And got a couple of days off next week, which I will need to recover from it all. But, yeah, all good. And, looking forward to another great show tonight.
So I'm guessing the order's already gone through for the new banana, Nev?
It has, yes. The company confirmed it this week. I don't know when I'm going to see it, though. I think it's going to be at least the back end of July or start of August. But it'll be a very similar colour, as you would expect.
Excellent. Well, joining us this week as well, our other awesome co-host of the show. And he's the guy who puts the I in ILS. It's Armando.
That's awesome. Every week is an adventure, Carlos.
How are you?
Hey, everybody. I'm super glad to be back this week again. I'm incredibly upset that I did not make a surprise appearance at Duxford. I wish Dr. Steph could have carried me in her luggage or something like that. Maybe she could have splurged for an extra ticket, but I didn't even get a chance to call in and video chat because it was Mother's Day and we had a Mother's Day brunch here. So.
Yeah. Mother's Day, bro. You got to look after the mums. That's the most important thing. So, how's your week been, Armando? Any flying around the mean skies of the US?
No, not a lot of flying at all. The weather's been kind of it's been okay, but. Not a lot. Maybe next week I'm trying to get up in the air with Civil Air Patrol a couple times to do some training on that G1000.
That sounds good. I wish I'd come over and join you. So we've got loads to get through this week in the show. Coming up later, we've got the second instalment of Armando's great video interview that he took with this week. It's a WC-130J. All right, Armando?
That's it. You got it. It's WC-130J Hurricane Hunters.
Yeah, so we've got that coming up. And we've also got two special videos that were taken at Duxford on Sunday, which are pretty awesome, introducing all the people who came to see us on the day. And, it was fantastic. So on that note, actually, guys and girls, big thanks to everyone who did come and see us on Sunday. We had a really, really good day. The weather was really good. All the flights, everyone who flew in managed to get in okay, and we're safe to say we had a good walk around the whole of the museum. And I think there was a lot of aviation chat during the day, Nev.
Yeah, there was, and it just amazes me how big that site is at Duxford. It's absolutely enormous, and probably take a couple of days to get around it properly. But it was actually quite nice to go there on a day when there wasn't an air show, because there's a lot more room to move around. There's still plenty to do. There's no shortage of that at all. But it was really great, and we've got some great video to show you a bit later on.
Yes, so we're going to say a big thanks to everyone who has joined us this week in the YouTube chat room. All the usual family members in there tonight, including who we got in there this week. We have got Richard Adams. Hello to you, Richard Adams. John Jester, Tanya W. Hello to you, Tanya. Neil Lamborn is also in the chat room. Rick Bell. Hello to you, Rick Bell. Matt Smith. Someone, I think we know Matt, don't we? Yeah. Stephen Ivy, hello to you, Stephen Ivy. John Pickard, hello to you. Chris Griggs, Underwater Chap, he's also in the chat room as well tonight. Graham Haley, hello to you, Graham. James Candraw, hello to you, James. Hope you're having a good night. So thanks to everyone who's joined us in the live YouTube chat room this evening. So I suppose we better get on with some aviation news, guys and girls. So we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Nev.
Yes, I am.
And if you're ready, Armando.
I am ready to go.
Best laid plans and all that. That was that was a mix. That was me, I think. Didn't hit the reset button, but there we go. We're here. We're here. Don't panic. Don't panic. Matt's sitting there now, thinking, "Oh, God, blimey." So this week's first news story, and it is on the ttgmedia.com website, and it's regarding an airline we talked about a few weeks ago. Thomas Cook confirms multiple bids for airline business. So Thomas Cook has confirmed it has received multiple bids for all or part of its group airline, which put up for sale in February. In a trading update on Thursday, Thomas Cook said it was making good progress on its strategy on differentiation, which includes selling its airline business. Cook set a 7th of May deadline for expressions of interest with Virgin Atlantic, Lufthansa Group and private equity investor and Wizz Air backer Indigo Partners, understood to be interested in the deal. The operator declined to comment on the specifics of any of the bids, other than to confirm that they concerned both or all parts of the airline business. It was also confirmed Cook had agreed £300 million worth winter 2019-2020 liquidity buffer with its lenders to give it financial headroom in the event of any undue winter pressures. However, its availability, said Thomas Cook, is principally dependent on progress in executing the strategic review of the group airline, meaning it's likely Thomas Cook must either complete a sale of all or part of the airline before the winter, or at least make a demonstrable progress on the process to assess the cash. They said that we are currently assessing the bids received, including for the whole and parts of the group airline, said Thomas Cook. We also consider all options to enhance value to shareholders and intensify our strategic focus, and will provide an update on this progress in due course. So Peter Frankhauser, Cook's chief executive, added that he can't say much more, but they're pleased with the progress that they've made. We've also received multiple bids. They are creditable bids, but will not comment on any names. Thomas Cook's airline will operate 105 aircraft this summer, excluding any wet leases. And its first half results announcement on Thursday revealed the business took a £1 million hit in external advisor costs arising from the group airline preparing for hard Brexit. This month, speculation has surrounded likely bidders for all or part of the group airline. Lufthansa boss Carsten Spohr confirmed a bid for Cook's German airline Condor, with an option to extend this to the group's UK airline. Virgin Atlantic, meanwhile, has been linked with a bid for Cook's long-haul operation at Manchester and Gatwick, and seasonally at Glasgow, which would complement its existing operations at Manchester and Gatwick. And TUI, as announced its first half results on Wednesday, has ruled out a bid for Cook's airline business. Now, Thomas Cook have been going for quite a few years now, haven't they, Nev? And it'd be interesting to see what happens when someone does bid and take this airline on, whether they'll keep the name.
I'm always a bit nervous with these sorts of stories because although they're obviously trying to make what they can from it, Some of these things never end well, do they? So we'll have to see. And of course, they've been so successful in that inclusive tour package for so many years now.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, is the market a bit saturated with it? But we'll have to see. And it all depends on, fuel costs and all this kind of business as to how viable the whole thing is. But we'll have to see. There's going to be a lot more on that story, I think, coming up.
Yeah. So the next story, Nev, is well, it's obviously going to be a BA story for you.
It is. It's on the jpost.com, and it says that British Airways is going to make Israel one of its first Airbus A350 destinations. And BA's choice to make its Israel route one of the first lines in which the plane will operate is an expression of confidence by the company in Israel. And the three-cabin A350 will feature the new 56-seat Club World cabin, the 56-seat World Traveller Plus, and 219-seat World Traveller Economy. I don't know why I thought this, but I'd forgotten how many passengers the A350 can actually take. That's a good number, isn't it, in that new aircraft? But the new business cabin will be equipped with the Club Suite business class seats, including a door for privacy, flatbed seats, and a 1-to-1 configuration, 40% additional storage, and an 18.5-inch in-flight entertainment screen. BA's choice to make it Israel one of the first routes on which the plane will operate is an expression of confidence by the company in Israel and demonstrates the company's great appreciation for this market, says Yael Caton, British Airways Israel manager. BA has operated in Israel since 1932, even before the establishment of the State of Israel, and operates 3 daily flights between Tel Aviv and London in its long-haul configuration. The British carrier promises that the A350, with reduced noise levels, high ceilings and ambient lighting, will leave the customers feeling rested, as cabin pressure on the new aircraft is equivalent to an altitude of only 6,000 feet. Well, Carlos and I were terribly excited because our trip, or one of the legs, I think it was on the way back or on the way there, to Dubai in November to cover the air show, was going to be on A350. And we thought, this is going to be fantastic. And then they swapped it to one of the old 747s. But we've still got a bit of time left. We might get back on it yet. We'll have to see how they get on with it. But they're going to start delivering the A350 in July, I believe. So let's see if we can get it on the Dubai route, at least in one direction. So we go.
So what do you think about this as a destination in Armando? Obviously these places were not really top of the list on many people's destinations to fly into. What do you think?
I would love to go to Israel. That's one of the few places, about probably pushing 65, 70 countries that I've been to, and I never made it to Israel. Especially if it is, I saw the picture of that BA Club Suite. That is gorgeous. That's like sitting in your home living room or in an office. I saw the picture of that BA Club Suite.
Sorry, that's me. Not turning my phone down. It's there was one of these other ones which I saw on the news feeds a while back, was that they were just talking about opening up bigger or longer or more routes to Iraq. I think it was one of the airlines that was going to start flying. I'm sure it was one.
Yes, I did hear that. I forget which one it was actually, but I've been to Israel once for work to Tel Aviv. That was about 2001, I think it was, something like that. And absolutely fascinating place. And I think I took British Airways in one direction and El Al in the other direction. You've got to be prepared for some fairly strict security there and quite long check-in times. But if you can get there, it is a fascinating place to go and see. So I very much enjoyed my trip there.
Actually, Underwater Chap in the chat room has said it's certainly a step up from the BA DC-10 that he took to Tel Aviv in the 90s.
Yes, it would be. Yes. I think those DC-10s, I can't remember. I think, were they configured 353 or something like that? And I remember being stuck in the middle of, literally right in the middle of the aircraft on the way to Dallas one year. And that was just so painful. It was the worst flight I'd ever taken. I was not in a good shape at the end of it. But that was in the days when they, obviously try to cram as many people in as they can. But things have improved a little bit now, at least in economy. So,
I can remember my last trip on a DC-10, Nev.
Ah.
Freddie Laker, Skytrain.
Oh, yes. Yeah, of course. Yep. Yeah. No, classic. Absolute classic. It's one of those. Having said all that, the DC-10 was an incredibly successful aircraft for the long haul operations. It was a very, very popular thing. I think had some early maintenance and bits and pieces going on with it, but in general terms, you'd have to say that it was a very reliable aircraft, and the passengers liked it.
So moving on to the next story then, and Armando, this is one for you involving a very popular airline over your way.
That's it. I actually just booked some tickets on Southwest Airlines about an hour before the show started to Puerto Rico. So maybe we'll do a passenger experience. Let's see. So this is from the Denver Post, and it is regarding Southwest Airlines' plans to build a $100 million 3-plane maintenance hangar at Denver International Airport. In a 3-airline town, the company with the heart logo is striving to show Denver who loves it most, and it plans to demonstrate its affection by pumping $100 million into a new maintenance hangar at Denver International Airport. Southwest Airlines' Gary Kelly opened his company's annual shareholders meeting in Denver on Wednesday by describing the city as, without a doubt, the fastest growing city in the history of the low-cost carrier. Based in Dallas, Southwest first came to Denver in 2006, getting a modest start with only 13 daily departures and 3 nonstop destinations. By this August, the airline expects to offer 224 daily departures out of Denver to 70 nonstop destinations, with more routes on the way. The airline now employs about 4,200 people in the Denver area. Among the employees are 75 maintenance staff members who are likely pretty pumped about the forthcoming hangar project. For now, those workers mostly do jobs outdoors. The 130,000 square foot hangar will have space inside for 3 Boeing 737 aircraft, with parking outside for 8 more. Work on the project is expected to get underway in the coming months, with completion targeted before the end of 2020. The hangar will be 7th in Southwest's network, joining facilities in Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, Phoenix, and Orlando. Our investment here has paid off very handsomely. We are adding more flights this year, and we are planning more growth in the future. This hangar is further evidence, of course, of our investment in the community. So the article goes on a little bit to talk about Southwest's history in Denver, but I think if anybody has ever been out to Denver International Airport, it used to be out in a big meadow, and it's probably one of the biggest airports acreage-wise that I've ever been to, or probably in the world. But when it was initially constructed, it was out there in the middle of nowhere, and now it's turned into a huge hub and fairly accessible from downtown Denver. So good to see Southwest's growth.
And I suppose it's also going to mean lots and lots of new jobs within the industry as well, Armando.
Yeah. Anytime there's an airline expansion in a city, it just kind of brings more business, more tourism. As far as the hangar itself, probably not a lot of maintenance, or whether it's maintenance staff or operations staff, but just by virtue of having more capacity coming into Denver, especially on Southwest Airlines, that'll probably create even more, travel to the Denver area, which is already pretty big.
Yeah. So moving on to the next story. And this one is on the dailymail.co.uk website, one of Nev's favourite publications. And it's a headline that, I think we can all appreciate, especially us here in the UK, because Jet2, one of the airlines we talk about a lot here in the UK, the headline on the story, "Spice up your flight. Jet2.com becomes the first UK airline to serve Nando's snacks on board." So, Jet2.com has turned the heat up on its flights by introducing 2 Nando's products to its new in-flight menu. This makes it the first UK airline to help its customers get a Nando's fix in the sky. The airline, the UK's third largest, will be introducing Nando's Peri Peri Flight Bites, 2 snacks infused with Southern African peri peri spice. Ouch. The products include a dip, drizzle and dunk Nando's box, which includes creamy hummus, smoky peri peri drizzle and lightly salted pita chips. Customers say Leeds-based Jet2.com can also take their taste buds on a trip with Nando's half-popped corn, which it describes as a mild and delicious snacking option where fluffy popcorn meets crunchy corn. The airline added in a statement to give customers even more reason to feel sky high with excitement this summer. Nando's vouchers can also be found in selected Nando's boxes on board. Entitling one person to a free meal at a Nando's restaurant. The new in-flight menu is Jet2.com's biggest and best yet, with a number of new additions to give customers more choice and variety than ever. Following the introduction of its first ever in-flight vegan meal early this year, the warming and hearty panini arrabbiata pasta dish, the company has added the vegan and gluten-free Knorr chocolate bar with Nando's half popcorn, also suitable for vegans. Now, I'm actually quite happy, but I do love a Nando's. I will say I do like a cheeky Nando's every now and again, but I have to say I do have the heat setting on 1 chili as opposed to 3 or 4, which I'm sure probably most of the listeners will love the hot chili. Is Nando's a big thing stateside, Armando?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think there's a few of them here. I'd have to Google it, but the first time I ever heard of Nando's was there in Suffolk. I thought it was interesting that there was this craze over a chicken, I guess a place that only serves. But hey, we have all kinds of restaurants here too. So
I'll tell you what, it'd be interesting to see, because we always have a food story all the time on the show. But we were talking last week, weren't we, about the meals and foods tasting different when you're at altitude on board an aircraft, and it'll be interesting to see what the difference is. But with altitude, with the peri peri heat kind of curry flavoury type chicken stuff.
Well, I can only imagine trying to get out of your seat and back to the aft lab if you need to.
Nev, I'm guessing this is not a favourite dish for you, or not?
Well, it's not just that, but it's the people that you get in Nando's. That's the reason I don't go in there, as you can imagine. Present company accepted, of course. But yes, I would be a 1 chili person maximum. In fact, even that is a little bit on the hot side for my liking, I have to say. But yes, well, it obviously it will please a lot of people, I'm sure.
So moving on to the next story, and well, I have to say, Nev, this is very, very quintessential British story for you.
Well, it is, and we go from something which is, well, a bit more popular to something that's a bit more exclusive. But this story does fall into the category of first world problems, I think. But shockingly, this is on the stuff.co.nz website. It says, shockingly, British Airways afternoon tea offer doesn't come with any tea. If there's one thing stereotypically famous about the Brits, it's the idea of an afternoon tea. It's as quintessential as the Queen or Coronation Street, although you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone actually eating it besides tourists. Anyway, a new offer from BA of an afternoon tea has had passengers salivating. The advert for the deal, which is available on short-haul flights for £5, says it's an indulgent sultana scone served with traditional clotted cream and delicious strawberry preserve. Pair it up with a hot cup of Tea Pig's everyday brew for an authentic cream tea experience. Does anyone catch? It says that paired with a cup of hot tea doesn't actually mean comes with tea. The brew is separate and yours for £2.50. Needless to say, the Brexit-wary flyers are not best pleased. Now, Can I just say, how is it possible to introduce the word Brexit into this story? I do not understand it at all. It's about tea and scones, isn't it? Or scones, as some people call it. It gets worse. It says, whoever thought this up needs locking up, wrote one commentator on the forum Flyer Talk. This is another infuriating example of BA trying to fob customers off with false advertising, says another. One commentator went further with a whole new menu concept. Fish and chips, £10. Bring your own fish. Gin and tonic, £6. Mixer. Our pairing suggestions: gin, £7. Ice, 50p. British Airways told The Independent in a statement, whether it's a traditional cup of tea, our new espresso martini, or a bottle of champagne, we offer a wide range of beverages to allow customers to choose which option they pair our popular afternoon tea with. Oh, what a fantastic corporate answer that was. Yes, but they could have done that slightly better, couldn't they? They could have just, included it and charged the price they're going to charge. But there we are. They haven't.
What do you think, Armando? Are you a hot tea drinker, person, coffee, tea? And he's on mute.
That's not helpful, really.
Right.
There we go.
Let's unmute. Yeah, I am a hot tea drinker. I love the cultural aspect of afternoon tea. I think taking a break in the afternoon to have tea and scones is great. And I actually didn't know that afternoon tea included a scone until a couple years into living in England. It's pretty awesome.
I'll tell you what, one of the biggest things which I love when we flew with Virgin Atlantic to Las Vegas was when we went up into the upper class lounge to have afternoon tea. That was what they called it. It was afternoon tea, and we sat with the first officer, or one of the first officers who was on break, and had tea and scones and jam and stuff. It was very nice. I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I have to admit, especially on long haul flights, if I'm not partaking of adult beverages, I'm usually a tea drinker.
So moving on to the next story, which hopefully involves a cup of coffee, but it doesn't. And this is an interesting one, Armando.
Yeah, I continue to wonder where it is that you get your stories, but this one is from the South China Morning Post. A old Boeing plane was abandoned in Hong Kong 4 years ago by a bankrupt Russian carrier, and it is now available to any buyer willing to stump up $795,000 US, which is a pretty good deal actually for a 767. The Airport Authority Hong Kong has sought submissions from parties to purchase and remove the 27-year-old Boeing 767. In its tender invitation, the authority stated that the plane had no maintenance records and was not in good condition. It added that the successful bidder was required to remove the aircraft within 3 months, whether as a whole or in parts. In October 2015, Russia's one-time biggest private airline, Trans-Aero, collapsed under a mountain of debt. That year, Flight 965 took off from Demedyevo, Moscow Airport for Hong Kong, arrived on October 26th, a day after the airline's operating license was revoked. It was Trans-Aero's last flight, leaving the 767 stranded ever since. In December 2015, the airport authority detained the plane over non-payment of parking fees. In July 2016, the operator sought to claw back money by using the airport authority ordinance for the first time. However, the authority has since obtained a court order to sell the airplane on an as-is basis. With no maintenance records and a low likelihood of ever flying again without millions being spent on repairs, on top of tracing original documents, the plane is destined for the scrapyard, according to aircraft leasing experts. Having previously reviewed Boeing 767 aircraft and worked on the ones that came out of the Trans-Aero bankruptcy in mainland China, David Yu, the only independent International Society of Transport Aircraft Trading appraiser in China, said the reserve price for the plane set by the authorities seemed to be above its scrap value. He said the sale would be difficult to anyone without documentation of the plane, its parts, or its current state. I remember Transaero. I used to live in upstate New York, and Rome, New York, the old Griffiths Air Force Base. Micah will probably know or have been there. Had I think it was a B-52 base back in the day, and when it had a huge refurbishment maintenance facility. And I used to see these Transaero 767s come in there probably 2009 to 2012. And I always wondered about the airline and its background and why they were coming to Rome, New York for maintenance work. But yeah, it's interesting. I guess we could just tap into the coffers and buy this for PTUK, propaganda or something like that, put it in the front yard.
I mean, it says it's in bad condition. It'd be interesting to see in what they mean as bad condition. Obviously, it's probably not had its annual checks and stuff done to the aircraft itself. But if no one buys this, I assume they will scrap it on site rather than, because obviously to fly this to anywhere else to be scrapped, they would have to have it checked, and that which would cost a lot of money. So I'm guessing that they're going to have to scrap this particular aircraft on site.
Yeah, I would assume so, unless somebody's going to turn it into a hotel or some kind of attraction or something like that. Like we saw just recently, the TWA hotel open up with the Constellation. Although the 767 is not quite as sexy as a Lockheed Constellation.
So Nev, I'm guessing this one's off the list. Then I mean, you've obviously you're buying a new car, so you're not really got $795,000 to buy this.
No, nor the space to put it either. But do you know? I don't know why I didn't know this. I did not know that Transaero was a Russian airline. I had no idea about that. I'd seen them at Heathrow previously back in the day, but I didn't know that. So, but yeah, and Neil Lamborn in the chat room says they've got some Transaero 747s at Bruntingthorpe,
yes,
which we know about as well, don't we? So,
yeah, we've seen those. Yeah.
So
moving on to the next story, and this is me. I think this is me. This is me.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So this is on the independent.co.uk, and it's one of these destinations which is on my to-do list of places where I really, really, really would love to go. And the headline on here is Machu Picchu. Fury over plans for new multi-billion-pound airport next to ancient Inca citadel. So archaeologists and historians fear development will cause irreparable damage to World Heritage Site and surrounding Sacred Valley. The development of a multi-billion-dollar airport that will fly tourists directly to Machu Picchu has sparked an outrage among historians, archaeologists and local people. Bulldozers have already begun clearing land for the airport in Chinchero, a well-preserved Inca city about 3,800 meters above sea level. That is the gateway to the Sacred Valley in Peru. The valley provided maize and other crops to Incan rulers, and several emperors built their private estates there. Incan terraces still cover the hillsides around Chinchero, which are used by local farmers. Those protesting against the airport will fear it will cause structural damage to ancient ruins and environmental degradation across a large swathe of the Sacred Valley, not just the famed citadel of Machu Picchu itself. The airport planned to be built in Chinchero, Cusco, endangers the conservation of one of the most important historical and archaeological sites in the world, wrote Natalia Majorov, a Peruvian art historian at Cambridge University, who organised a petition against the development. She added that the airport will affect the integrity of a complex Inca landscape and will cause irreparable damage due to noise, traffic and uncontrolled urbanisation. Nearly 6,000 people have signed a petition which calls on Martin Vizcarra, the President of Peru, to reconsider the project. Currently, the most visitors to Machu Picchu arrive in Cusco Airport, 50 miles southeast of the ruins, and then either catch a train or bus or embark on the 4-day Inca Trail to reach the site. The airport has only one runway and is limited to handling stopover flights from Peru's capital, Lima, and nearby cities such as La Paz, Bolivia. But the new airport in Chinchero will be open to larger aircraft on international routes across Latin America and the US. The project was first announced, in 2012 by Peru's former president, Ollanta Humala, and the government plans to complete the airport by 2023. That's quite fast, actually, for that huge project. But anyway, at the time, Mr. Humala said the government would invest $460 million in the project, not including compensation to the farming communities whose land will be seized. Announcing the project 7 years ago, he said the new airport will not only allow more tourists to come, but will also generate more jobs and will permit modernisation and added value for the surrounding communities. But critics say the airport will bring noise, air pollution to the area and put a strain on limited water sources in the region. They've also expressed concerns that the planes landing and taking off from the airport will need to pass low over nearby Ollantaytambo, the archaeological park. Blimey, that's a mouthful. They say this could cause structural damage to the Inca ruins in the park. More than 1.5 million tourists visited Machu Picchu in 2018, which is almost double the limit recommended by UNESCO. In 2017, UNESCO threatened to pull the citadel on its list of World Heritage Sites in danger of owning the huge strain of tourism puts on the fragile ruins of the local ecology. It would be sad to see anything happen to this site. I know a few friends of mine who've been there, and I've seen the pictures, and it looks absolutely amazing. And for them to put an airport here, and also I think, Armando, wouldn't you agree that the height that this airport would be, 3,800 meters above sea level, would it be a challenge for airliners? Mute.
Goodness.
There we go.
Yeah, the Quito airport, which is in that region, has been known for a long time for being a very challenging approach, and I think it's a special training. Crews have to undergo special training. I know, at least for American Airlines, to get in there, and I think they were flying 757s because of their capability for short airstrips. But yeah, the terrain in there is extremely challenging. And, it's easy to say that, hey, you got a phone call. It's easy to say that.
Sorry. That's with my phone on silent as well.
We'll fix it in post, right?
Yeah.
50 miles away from the heritage site sounds like it's not very far, except it takes a couple hours to get there. So, I guess it would be good to get more tourism into that area. The flip side of that is I think they're trying to cut back on the tourism, and they were almost going to go to a lottery if they're not already in a lottery program, where they're afraid that too much tourism is going to degrade the ruins. So I know I've got a couple of friends that went last year, just basically before they start shutting it down. So I'm interested to see if this airport ever materializes, but we'll see.
Is this a destination you wouldn't mind going, Nev?
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? I've got a couple of friends as well that have been there previously, and the pictures they brought back are fantastic. I've got to say, I'm not a huge environmentalist, but this particular subject, I think we just be really careful here, because building an airport around that area, and as was just already been said, everything around there is extremely fragile, so I think they've got to be, seriously careful about this. And actually, I don't know about you, but I think of where it is, the longer journey to get there sort of adds something to it. I think if you just turned up in an aeroplane, it would. I don't know. I just think that there's something special about having to go the extra distance by road to get there. So yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, I think if you compare it to Lukla and Everest Base Camp, that's, and Pip brought this up in the chat room. They're not talking. I don't know if they're talking about bringing 757s into the Machu Picchu airport, but if it's something for smaller, Dorniers or Twin Otters or something to get in there, it wouldn't be as disruptive, but I'm with you, Nev. I think getting to a destination and then jumping on a dala or some little bus to get up to your site is part of the adventure, right?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely.
So the next story, Nev, is about somewhere that's actually not too far from where I am now.
Yeah, this is a bit of a shock, actually. I've not heard of this story before. It's on the BBC website, and it says Marshall Aerospace plans to leave Cambridge Airport base by 2030. And Matt from the A320 podcast and myself were there just a few weeks ago doing some filming for his series. But it says that Marshalls currently employ 2,000 people, and they are going to leave the base. The Marshall Aerospace and Defence Group is planning to build 12,000 homes and 5 million square feet of business premises at the airport and move by 2030. New sites being considered are Duxford and Whitton in Cambridgeshire and Cranfield in Bedfordshire. Marshall said it hoped to support and retain its existing valued and highly skilled workforce throughout the move. A spokesman said that the company needed to invest in new facilities and that the relocation, coupled with the development of our land in Cambridge, will provide us with an extraordinary opportunity to achieve this. The Cambridge Airport site can offer the 12,000 homes plus business and commercial space, providing the jobs necessary to make the site sustainable, he added. Cambridge MP Daniel Zeigner said he had received assurances Marshall will retain a presence in the city, but was concerned about the impact on existing staff and jobs. He said that the company, which was founded in 1909, had played a central role in the city's economic and civil life for over a century. He said we'll need guarantees that homes will be affordable and built to high environmental standards with genuinely sustainable transport solutions in place up front. Cambridge City Council leader Lewis Herbert said Marshall have played a major role in the life of Cambridge for more than a century, and it is critical to see this business retained locally in the future, whether it moves or stays where it is. The council will work closely with the company to explore and understand their plans for relocating most of their businesses and for the potential redevelopment of the Cambridge Airport site. The Unite Union, which has 900 members at the Marshall Aerospace and Defence Group, said it was very disappointed and wanted urgent talks. Regional Officer Roger Dillon said, "We are talking about highly skilled engineering jobs that are part of the lifeblood of the vibrant Cambridge economy. Unite is very disappointed that we were not involved in the discussions prior to the announcement. Whilst we appreciate the need for more housing in the Cambridge area, especially affordable housing, there has to be a balance struck with the need to preserve key engineering jobs." And I think that's a very big statement there, because it's all about engineering, especially in that part of the country. And they are a major employer where they've got your father might work there, or your brother might work there, or your wife might work there. So whole families actually end up working at somewhere like Marshall. So it's a bit of a shock, I have to say. I had no idea that they'd got plans to do this.
Yeah, I'm quite shocked. I've been past there at the site quite a few times. It's really good for aircraft spotters, because the main road into Cambridge, into the city itself, goes right past the runway. And in fact, they have some traffic lights there which they shut part of the road off when you have aircraft coming into land. They have like a traffic light system in place for aircraft for sometimes when they come in. But it's a huge site, and it's as from what I have heard in the past, it's been really well used by not just people having aircraft service there, but also by a lot of business aircraft flying to Cambridge as well. It's quite a handy airport for businessmen to fly into as well. And that site to be covered in houses, I think, is going to be a real shame in my eyes. And I'm surprised they've decided to do this. But I'd imagine, Nev, it all boils down to that good old pound.
Well, yes. I mean, everybody's got their foot hard down at the moment with building houses. But if I remember correctly, the road infrastructure around there will just not be able to deal with all that. So we'll have to think about rerouting some of the roads and this kind of thing. But it's I did not understand why they want to do this. As Pip said in the chat room just now, houses can be built anywhere, but why bulldoze a modern well-equipped, active airport, and he's absolutely right in my opinion.
And a spray shop as well. They've got a really good spray place there as well.
Big maintenance base, isn't it? A lot of places people go there for that. Yeah.
So Armando, carry on.
Well, before we leave that one, this will be interesting too, because as they continue to talk about closing down the U.S. Air Force bases in the mid to late 2020s, those are also scheduled and slated for development. So whether it's in industrial parks or housing in the Suffolk area. So if you lose Cambridge, Mildenhall, Lakenheath, that's a huge aviation presence that would leave Suffolk.
Yeah, it would be a definite shame. And also the variety of aircraft that fly into Cambridge as well, the military aircraft that fly into there, as well as the commercial and biz jets as well that fly into there. It was always quite a sight, because the park and ride car park that we use is just off from where the runway is, so it's quite a busy place for photographers, aircraft photographers. So yeah, be a shame to see this happen. But there we go. So the next story, Armando, is it's an awesome one for you.
Yeah, this is from Flight Global, and it talks about IAG is to place 4 Airbus A321neos with its Spanish spin-off arm, Iberia Express, deploying the twin jets with the carrier from April of next year. I should say it correctly. Iberia Express already has 4 conventional A321s, part of a fleet which also includes 18 A320s. It says the re-engined aircraft will be configured with 232 seats in a mix of business and economy class cabins. Iberia Express will fit the Recaro SL3510 seat in its economy section, while the business cabin will have the Collins Aerospace Pinnacle. They will undoubtedly help us consolidate further the value proposition to our customers, says the chief executive, Fernando Candela. Airbus's latest backlog figures show that Spanish flag carrier Iberia converted a December 2015 order for 3 A320neos to A321neos in April of this year. This conversion gives Iberia a total order of 7 A321neos, as well as 13 A320neos, 2 of which have been delivered.
Iberia Express, one of the airlines I haven't flown. I've flown with Iberia, but not Iberia Express. But I will remember when we stayed in Lanzarote a few years back, which is also a great place to go for plane spotting. It's one of those airlines that frequently flies into Lanzarote, and I remember seeing the 321 from the other airlines and stuff. But Iberia, I think they've got most or all their bus fleet. I think they've got 320s, mostly 320s. But this 321 Nev is, I think, is becoming quite a popular aircraft now with a lot of airlines, especially the Neo version.
Yes, I've been on a 321 back from Edinburgh, I think, the other week. It's a very nice aircraft, very quiet as well. Just one thing I want to say about this story is that they're talking about fitting the Recaro seats. That's the Recaro seats. I've got a colleague of mine who shall remain nameless that calls this company Ricardo every time, and he will not stop doing it, and he doesn't know he's doing it, and it irritates me beyond measure, as you can imagine.
Gotta love a Recaro seat. Hey, Armando.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know too much about cars. I know it's a seat maker. I was actually surprised and learned for the first time that they make airplane seats too. So.
Yeah, I think, did they make the slimline ones, Nev, for the new the EasyJet Airbuses?
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, I thought they did. Yeah. So the next story is on Flight Global again, one of Nev's favourite websites. This one, and it has a nice font. The headline: Startup Great Dane. So this is a new startup airline. We've got a new startup airline. Love this. Great Dane shows off its first aircraft. So startup regional carrier Great Dane Airlines has shown off its first aircraft, an Embraer 195, newly painted in the Danish operator's livery. The aircraft, Echo India Golf Golf Charlie, a 2008 airframe with serial number 213, was formerly used by Flybe. It's owned by the Cayman Islands-based Lisa Proprius, which is linked with the UK's Stobart Air, the company recently acquired, along with Flybe by Connect Airways. Great Dane Airlines is aiming to commence services to 3 destinations: Edinburgh, Nice and Dublin, from Aalborg. I think that's how you pronounce that, Aalborg. Denmark's corporate registry indicates the carrier has undergone a recent major change of ownership. It indicates the airline has been majority owned since March by investor SEBC Holding, which also has diverse interests in hotel operations, business software and a motor racing circuit. SEBC succeeded former co-owner PhD Holding, linked to former board member Hugh Duck-Nugent. He was one among 4 members of the board who resigned in March, according to the registry, including chairman Kjeld Arnhold Christensen, Arne Remmen and Pernille Frugard Simonsen. Blimey, I should have gave this story to one of you guys. Elgid Christensen joined the board as chairman in the same month, while registry also lists Jesper Christensen as the new board member alongside airline founder Thomas Hugo Moeller. Great Dane Airlines authorised capital was increased in March from 400,000 kroner to 2 million Dutch kroner. But this is an airline I hadn't heard a lot about. Nev, I'm guessing you might have heard a thing about this airline?
No, I didn't actually. No, but bit of a missed opportunity, surely, with the livery. Should have a picture of a Great Dane on it, I would have thought, but maybe not. But yes, in the E195, which is a very nice aircraft, I have to say. Do you like those?
Yeah, so this is their first one of these, and they've got one more of these on order. So I don't know whether they're having that as a second-hand one, an ex-Flybe one or not. I don't know, but yeah, another. At least we're talking about airline startups for a change, rather than airlines ceasing to exist anymore.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
yes, there couldn't be more.
Yeah, we keep joking about that, right? We two go under, and then there's another startup. So it's like, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, or 2 forward, 1 back.
Yeah,
yeah, it's good.
So the next story for you, Nev, and it's regarding. It's an interesting one actually, regarding points, because I know you're a big fan of air miles and points and stuff.
Yes, we do like the points, and it's on cheatsheet.com website, and it says surprising things you can redeem your airline miles and rewards points for. Who doesn't love getting fun perks when flying? Of course, the most common way is to get free things. Is by collecting miles as you travel, and the most popular reward for a miles program is free airfare. But many other perks include rental cars, hotel stays, and maybe even cashback. Have you ever spent any time, though, diving deep into the fine print or clicking through the 50 pages on your list of rewards to find that the weirdest thing you could spend your points on? Well, this company did, and with help from the Points Guy, these are some of the most surprising ways you can redeem your miles. Some of these items on the list might have you scratching your head, whilst others might get you running out to sign up for a new credit card. I'm not going to go through everything here, but just some examples are a Korean coat check. So if you're a member of the Korean Air SkyPass and need to stash your coat quickly, you can redeem 400 points per day for the coat room reward. The next one is a sock subscription. Ever since 1999, Black Socks have been providing happy customers with a sock subscription, or sockscription, if you will. But it's only for black socks. Number 3 is a baby spa experience, and you can exchange 6,500 of your Asia miles for a day trip in Hong Kong with your little one. Or you can also have a flying without fear, a day course.
Yeah.
As well, yeah, exactly. Well, that's going to cost him 40,000 miles with Virgin Atlantic if he wants to do that. And you can also have a day at a Korea role play theme park, and that would cost you 2,000 of your Japanese airline points to give your child this once in a lifetime experience.
The next one's for Armando.
Yeah. Yes, it is. This would suit him very nicely. $50 gift card for a liquor store. So that will is available for exchange from Virgin Australia frequent flyers. Yeah. This is a weird one. Number 7, it's a 100-gram gold bar. And according to the points guy, the 900,000 plus points it takes you to redeem this are worth over $13,000. And the gold bar is only worth around $4,400. So then again, it doesn't make a lot of sense, possibly. You can also exchange your points for a vegan food tour of Ho Chi Minh City via scooter. That will cost you 3,744 of the Chase Sapphire preferred points.
Actually, Nev, skipping to number 14, because I think that is the one that we are all going to save our points for.
Oh, right. Yes, indeed. Well, if we had enough points, this would be the one, as you say. It would be for 6 dogfights in a fighter jet. But before your imagination runs away with you, it's not that kind of dogfight. For those of you who didn't watch enough Top Gun, dogfights are an aerial combat drill. Fighter jets do for training when they fly right at each other. And you could be strapped in for all of the G-forces if you save 650,000 points on your Capital One or Chase required cards. Wow.
But especially for the people in number 15, Nev, because we do have some space fans, I think, who watch the show.
Oh, we do, yes. Unfortunately, my screen won't go down to them. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I've just seen it. It's you can take a flight into space if you want, but that's well, it's going to cost you 2 million miles, or you can cash in 200,000 miles for a 10% off coupon for your space flight, and that's available from Virgin Atlantic, as you might expect.
Wow.
Amazing, that.
Honestly, you would have to have either an incredibly good job, which involves lots and lots and lots of flying, or one of those cards where you just you get miles or points for doing anything. I think
Yeah.
What's the for you, Nev? What's the card of choice for points? What do you think is the best?
Well, difficult to say. I mean, I use the British Airways American Express card, but the subscription fee on that has gone up a lot now, and it's about £195 a year, something like that.
Ouch.
So that's quite a big hit, and that's gone up a lot recently. You're always shopping around for different things, basically, and there's usually a subscription fee that goes with it. So, but Neil Lamore makes a good point in the chat room, actually. He says, how do you get 40,000 miles if you're afraid of flying? That's a good point.
What's your card of choice, Armando? Obviously, you must collect air miles of some description.
Yeah, I use the American Airlines cards. So I have 2 different credit cards that are linked to my American Airlines rewards account.
Oh, that's good. Is it? I mean, because some of the deals that we have here in the UK are for kind of fuel purchases for for your car, you gain points, or for purchases, some retail purchases as well. You can get points for your air miles.
Yeah, there's plenty of different options for we do enough the points guys stories. There's plenty of different options out there for anybody that wants to do either purchases. I think most of us listening to this podcast or doing these podcasts would take an airline rewards card any day. If you want to jump on an A350 on Iberia or something like that, you can do so with a Capital One card or something like that.
Actually, Micah says in the chat room that, Richard Adams, says in the chat room, 1 million points for an hour in a Spitfire.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Or you could just pay, I think, what was it, Nev, at Duxford? Was it £2,500 for, was it 20 minutes?
Yes, it was. That's right. Yes, I think it's 20 minutes or half-hour flight in Spitfire. Yes, just over £2,000, wasn't it? Yeah,
which is cheap at half the price.
Well, yeah, brilliant.
So the last story then, Armando, and this one's quite a nice story to end on, I think.
Yeah, so this one is from the Daily Mail, and it talks about a heartwarming moment that a quadriplegic former airline pilot takes to the skies again on his first ever paragliding flight. This former pilot's dream came true when he enjoyed his first paragliding flight. Canadian Jim Ryan, 59 years old, was paralyzed after being hit by a wave when he was diving underwater in the Central Pacific island of Maui in 2016 while on holiday with his family. The former commercial airline pilot wanted to get to the skies again ever since, and his ambition was realized with the help of paragliding enthusiast Greg Hemingway, a flight officer who flew with Jim when he was a captain. Jim and Greg took off from a mountain in Harrison Mills, British Columbia, and then enjoyed a magical tandem flight through the valley. In the flight, which was recorded by Greg's body cam, Jim is heard laughing loudly. When the pair touched down, the grateful Jim, who is an advocate for people with disabilities, says, "What a ride. Thank you, Greg." Afterwards, Jim said, "For someone in a wheelchair who misses flying every day, this is one of the most incredible experiences that make life worthwhile." Jim had wanted to complete a paragliding flight 10 years ago when he was a pilot for Canada's low-cost airline WestJet, but his work commitments meant it wasn't possible. But his dream was made possible after he approached Greg a few months back to ask him if he would take him. To the delight of his former colleague, he said yes. Jim, who posted a video of his flight on Facebook, took to the skies an especially made buggy for disabled paragliders, which has a backpack attachment to allow people to do tandem flights. The chair is low to the ground and has specially made straps that cover every part of the body. He said, "It is through the work of phenomenal help of friends and new acquaintances that we made this all work." Jim is also a motivational speaker for those with disabilities in his community. He's received the Courage to Come Back award for his work and has spent the past 3 years trying to live his life to the fullest to prove that disabilities don't limit people. Last year, Jim was taken sturgeon fishing by well-known advocate Rick Hansen and even got a chance to stir the boat.
Oh, there we go. Just got the video there. What an awesome experience for that guy to be able to do that. You know, I've never seen that before. A wheelchair suspended below. That's pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
and just it goes to prove that flying is in the blood one way or another, and for anyone to be able to get back in the air, we see this with veterans from the different wars. Where I think just a few episodes back we did a story about a Spitfire pilot, or maybe it was a P-51 pilot, getting back in the air. And I love watching. It's one of these things that makes you emotional, because when you see the joy that comes back when somebody gets back in the air. And personally, my dad is a retired airline pilot, and he hadn't flown since probably the mid 2000s, and I've gotten a chance to take him up. He's in his late 70s now, a couple times, and it's amazing. And for me, watching my dad at the controls, it really is like riding a bike, where he's a 15,000-hour airline pilot, and even disabled, my dad is smoother than I am on the controls, because it's just in his blood. So I love reading stories like this, and it just goes to encourage anyone with a disability to get in the air, whether it's as a pilot or as a passenger. So very cool.
So coming up next, then, we have got a very special segment that was taken at the Duxford Air Show. It was filmed by Nev and Matt, and they were talking to some of the people who came on Sunday. And this is 2 parts. We've got the first part now. We've also got a very special segment coming up after this from Armando, and then we've got the second part of the Duxford meetup segment coming up later on the show. So, Armando, if you're ready, let's watch the first part.
Yeah, let's do it.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are at Duxford. It is Sunday. It's the meetup that we've been going on and on about. And I'll tell you what, we could not have chosen a more perfect and stunning day. Everybody's, we've had, was it 4 people, I think, Nev, fly in, which has been great. But we're going to have a quick wander around now while we're having a bite to eat, because Al had been about 45 minutes without eating, and we were very concerned. So we'll have a quick chat with everyone if we can. We'll probably start with the boss, if that's all right. Right. Sorry to interrupt, sir. Could I disturb you for a moment?
Sorry.
Hello.
How are you?
If you could introduce yourselves to everyone.
Hello, Carlos here. As you can see, that's good, isn't it? We've got these wonderful shirts on. How are you, Matt?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, absolutely. How did you fly in, or did you come by TriStar van?
TriStar van,
TriStar
obviously,
van.
yes. With great IFE on the way in.
Great IFE.
Yeah, we had great IFE.
Why? What were you watching?
I wasn't watching anything. I was driving. But,
Good. Well done. Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, we've had a great turnout.
I know. I can't get over how many people are here. We're going to try and talk to as many people as we can. But
I know. And Dr. Steph is here.
I know, absolutely. In fact, actually, let's wander across there now. While she's not eating, we should probably just do that. Dr. Steph, if I could just say hello for a moment.
Hello.
Hi. You're on camera
I'm
one
sorry.
there. Yes, absolutely. It's now you're a bit of a surprise to us all, really, for many reasons.
I surprise myself sometimes.
The first one being that you're here. What on earth are you doing here?
How could I miss out on this?
Well, absolutely.
I mean, seriously.
And
Okay.
thank you so much for bringing some incredible weather with
Oh,
you.
it's my pleasure. It's the least I could do for the PTUK.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how long are you here for?
Oh, just actually in England today.
Yeah.
But I was in Zurich the past 2 days.
Oh, fantastic. Another marathon?
Fortunately, no, because the
Oh.
weather was not very good.
No.
But we did see most of the city yesterday. Friend of mine and I, and yeah, worked out well to come here for the day.
I know. I mean, everybody has literally been blown away by the fact that suddenly you were here. So thank you so
That
much
was
for
kind of the idea. It was good to see everyone's reactions. That was fun and worth it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so very much for coming. Now we're going to go one across to the gentleman who is basically responsible for this entire nightmare.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, Diet Coke burping.
Right, good,
Get that out
lovely.
of the way.
Yeah. Style it out, Pip. You'll be fine.
Yeah, morning. Hi.
And now you flew in.
We did. I flew in with Sir Adam and Nicholas and Isaac here.
Yep.
We came down from Weston to White Waltham to pick up Nick and Adam, and then across
This
here.
is where the interviewers spend more time interviewing each other.
Right. Sorry, just here. Nick spoiling all the interviews as per. He doesn't care because he's done his, so he's all fine. Now, just the one landing fee today.
Well, let me tell you.
I'm right behind you. Pete.
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me tell you, Nick flew most of the way here, and Nick landed as well. I didn't touch the controls.
Fantastic.
Well, no, it was perfectly acceptable. I've said many times that I can't land the damn thing, so Nick may as well try.
Okay, right. What could possibly go wrong, eh?
Exactly so, yeah.
Indeed, absolutely. So your flight was roughly how long?
From White Wolf, I think about 35 minutes-ish.
Wow.
Then it'll be the same going. It's a lovely day for flying, very little wind.
Yeah.
Quite calm. Very quiet at Luton as well, which is rather handy, so we managed to buzz straight through the middle of their airspace, which saved 5 or 10 minutes. So yeah, and same again on the way back, I hope.
Fantastic. Yes. Well, thanks, Pip. Yes. Isaac, how are you?
Good.
Yeah. You flew in with Dad as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, do you like aeroplanes, or are you just very tolerant?
Yeah, I like airplanes.
Yeah, actually he's becoming very competent himself at the old flying.
Oh,
He can sort of hold a heading and an altitude quite well.
Wow. Cool. So, what do you want to do when you grow up, Isaac? Do you want to do what Dad does? No. Oh, right. Okay. What do you want to do when you grow up?
I haven't thought about it.
Oh, you haven't. Okay. Yeah. 'Cause-
Last time I asked, he wanted to be a rock star rugby player for England.
Rock star rugby player. Now that's quite. Now, because you are rather good at rugby, aren't you? I understand. Oh dear, he's got all embarrassed. We'll leave it there, I think. Anyway, thanks, Isaac. Now I don't need to introduce these two. Well, I know these two. All right, mate. How are you?
good, thanks,
Hi,
how are
Lee.
you?
How are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Oh, living the dream.
Oh,
Warm
yeah.
day, isn't it?
Well,
Absolutely.
so we've been here 3 times so far this year. Once without Steph, twice with Steph.
Twice with Steph. Yes, that's
Weather
correct.
glorious when Steph's here. Weather crap when Steph's not here.
Good
so
point.
draw your
Yeah.
own
So if you
conclusions.
bring Owen, it's really rubbish.
Yeah.
And if you bring Dr. Steph, the weather is
It's
fine. Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Long-suffering Lisa behind you. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Now you're very understanding, really, because it's him really that likes all this sort of thing. You're just
Correct.
coming along for the ride, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very grateful.
How
for
did
that.
you guess?
Well, he did absolutely. I assume you drove here. Yes. Yeah, you didn't come by,
No,
I don't know, TriStar van or anything.
No, I drove here, and you declined the lift with me, so...
I know, absolutely. I've seen what your driving's like, mate. That's fine.
Yeah,
right, where are we going to go next? Let's say hello to Matt. So we've got Matt from the A320 podcast here. Hello, Matt.
Hi there, how you doing? All right?
We're very good, thank you. So now, you drove here?
Yeah, we drove, yeah.
Okay. And have you been to Duxford before?
Yes, we're annual members, so we've been several times before, yeah.
Okay, cool. There's so many people here. This is just so cool. Now, again, it's one of those, isn't it? A lot of people here. We know. What you were making a suggestion actually about what we ought to do rather than like putting names on.
Yeah, everyone should just have their Twitter handles because I only know everyone as their Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely, it's a good idea. So you brought two long-suffering Litlands with you as well. So who have we got here?
We've got Ruby here.
Ruby.
Hi, Ruby. Do you like aeroplanes?
Yeah.
Do you? What do you want to do when you grow up?
I don't know.
You don't know. Do you want to do what Daddy does? Because Daddy just sits around in the house a lot at the moment. He doesn't really.
To be a police officer.
You want to be a police officer? Oh, how cool is that? I'm scared already. It has to be said. I mean, what's your name?
Holly.
Hello, Holly. And what do you like aeroplanes?
Yeah.
You do. So, what do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a nurse.
A nurse? Well, I have to say that. Oh, like Mummy. Our Mummy's a nurse, is she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Two very noble professions, I have to say. I think you're doing a sterling job of bringing them up. I think. Absolutely. So, what are the highlights here at Duxford for you?
I think it's the mixture actually. It's so eclectic. Obviously, you've got Concorde and Blackbird and things like that. Plus, you've got all the old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've just opened up the hangar full of Spitfires and all that sort of stuff over there. So
yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, right. So let's work our way down this side. Hello, sir. What's your name?
I'm John Pickard.
Hello, John Pickard, and welcome to Duxford.
Welcome. It's good to be here.
Did you drive here?
I did indeed.
Okay,
I came down from Lichfield this morning.
From Lichfield. Now, have you been here before?
I was actually saying in 1983 as an air cadet. That's a long time ago.
Goodness me.
And the bus broke down.
Right. Okay. Nothing to do with me.
No.
I wasn't driving back then. So how long a drive from Lichfield?
It's only 2 hours.
Oh, it's not too bad.
It's absolutely fine.
Okay. So what are your memories of Duxford like when you were here with the Air Cadets?
It was really a really cold, dismal, dark day.
Right.
But on the other hand, the American collection, etc., it was really interesting.
Yeah.
But you don't appreciate it as a child, do you? I think that's the big thing in life, that you go back and you reflect, and coming back now has made a big difference. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's
Well,
great.
we're looking forward to looking at a few exhibits later. We'll move on now. Hello, Barbara. There's a few faces I recognise. Hi, Barbara. You all right?
Hello.
So now you've driven from sort of Northampton area.
I've come from Nottingham.
Nottingham, not
An hour and a
Northampton.
half.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, that's not too bad. About the same as us.
Yeah,
then.
it's a good drive down.
Yeah. Now you've been to Duxford with, I think, when we were here for one of the air shows, weren't you? I think.
Yes, I've been here with one of the Plane Talking UK. I think it was last year.
Yeah.
And I also know Duxford quite well because I used to volunteer here and help to maintain the Concorde in that big hangar.
Very
so
cool.
I know Duxford very well.
Good.
Yeah,
Well, this is what we
yes,
like
it's
to-
lovely to be here.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
all,
So,
yeah.
what's your favourite exhibit here?
Well, I do love the Concorde, but I love the Monarch.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the Britannia, if I'm right.
Yeah,
Is that right?
we're hoping
Yeah.
to go and have a little
Yeah, I
nose round
I
that
love
later.
that. And yeah, I love all the planes that are open on the tarmac now. And you can go inside and have a look at the passenger seats.
Sounds
That's my
good.
favourite.
Yeah. Right, we're going to move on then. So the next, hello, sir. Sorry to interrupt
Hello.
your. What's your name and where do you come from?
I'm Richard, all the way from Derby.
Right.
2 hours drive.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, not far away from East Midlands then.
No, that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah.
Based, work for a big Irish airline as cabin crew.
Right. Oh, very cool.
Never met Owen though.
Have you not?
No.
Okay.
I've chatted to him on Facebook after I've heard him on your show.
Yeah, yeah.
Is he still with?
No, he's not. He's not with Harpjet
Yeah.
anymore. No.
Oh, bless him.
That'll be what. Yes, he escaped.
No, I'm still shackled in at the
Right.
moment. So
Very cool. Yeah, we say this a lot. It's like you assume that sort of cabin crew and stuff. It's a glamorous lifestyle, and it really is anything but that, isn't it?
yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stag parties making a mess, getting abused. But you get to mess about with planes all the time. So.
Well, there is that. Yeah, I suppose at least you're.
No, it's good. I enjoy it. It's very varied.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we as I quite often say, I doff my cap to you, sir, for being able to do it. We'll work our way along. Hello, sir. What's your name and where do you come from? I feel like I'm doing like something like Sale of the Century or something.
Hi, it's Chris Griggs from Oxford.
From Oxford. Now, you actually flew in, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, flew in from Wellesbourne today.
Okay. Cool. And how long was your flight?
About an hour.
Cool. And so, got to ask the question, details about your little plane. What did you fly in?
So it's a club plane that I've rented, PA-28, 180 horsepower one, so got here quite
Plenty
quickly.
of grunt then, yeah.
Plenty of grunt, plenty of wait for when we go home.
Right, okay, yes, I notice you are near Al, so there is ice creams I think will be next.
Oh, lovely.
Absolutely. And next to you is long-suffering girlfriend?
Isabel Frey, also from Oxford.
Right, well, yes, absolutely. And now you're just here because you were dragged along, essentially. Do you have any? Do you like going out flying?
Yeah, and never been scared of it, which is a good thing.
Okay, absolutely. Well, that's a testament to your flying skills, I think so. Absolutely. No, very good. So, have you been to Duxford before?
No.
No,
it's my first time.
Hello, sir. What's your name and where are you from?
Matt, my name's Dave W. I'm from the South Coast today.
Wow. So you've had quite a drive then?
It was about 2.25 hours on the Sunday. It was coming up as over 3 hours when I checked it during the week, but obviously much nicer on a Sunday. So.
No, I bet. Absolutely. Have you been to Duxford before?
No, it's my first time, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I can't believe how casual the atmosphere is, how many planes they've got here. Food's fantastic.
There's something about it being a working airfield, isn't it? Somehow it gives it a bit of a sort of a magical feel, doesn't it?
Absolutely. When Pilatus fired up a little earlier and you can smell the jet fuel coming across, it's you can't beat that.
You cannot beat that at all.
Yeah, there's some museums it's musty, it's old, it's got that smell about it, but here you can smell real aviation, so such a difference.
Absolutely. And of course you've got the other sort of Spitfires that we've seen firing up and stuff. I mean,
the goosebumps are still there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No. Well, thank you very much for coming. Now this is a very familiar face to the podcast. I don't know which way we're going to go here. Sorry, we're keeping Nev on his toes here today. Philip, welcome.
Yes, hi Matt. All right.
Now you actually flew here, didn't you?
I did.
With a little bit of help.
Yes. I drove to Wiltshire and was lucky enough to be picked up by Al in his Piper Arrow. So very lucky. So
very cool. And so how long was the flight?
About 45 minutes, was it? Something like that. Yeah. Lost track of time. I was so engrossed in watching everything.
Have you done much GA?
No, that's only the second time GA, and only my 13th time in the air.
Wow, that's cool. Well, I mean, let's be honest, you couldn't have picked a better person who I'd feel most safe with, because we all know I'm a very nervous flyer, and when I was having my, Al was helping me with my sort of fear of flying, of course, he very kindly took me up in said little plane for a thing. And speak of the devil, he shall appear. Hello.
Greetings, how are we?
Very good. How is the food so far?
Not bad. To be honest, Jonathan Warner, he who shall not be mentioned the McDonald's breakfast, which frankly doesn't feature on my radar.
Right, okay.
So the burger and fries that I've had here was excellent.
Good,
so,
excellent.
So just warming up nicely.
Yep, absolutely. Ice creams later, I presume?
Of course.
Absolutely. So you flew up here in your little Piper?
Yes, we'd like to thank the Earl of Suffolk and Berkshire for allowing us to use his little airfield to pick Phil and Jonathan up. So
very cool.
So thank you very much, my lord. And I did a little detour to pick these guys up, sort of like a 90-degree detour.
Yep.
And we had a jolly little flight here. It was quite busy. I've kind of held this belief for a little while, and I'm going to apologise in advance, but I don't care. Gliders are like the cyclists of the air. They just get in the way.
I can see Pitt glaring at us from... Shut up.
Can't they find somewhere else to do it? What we need to do is we need to find an island somewhere off the coast of the UK, put all the cyclists and all the gliders there, and then they can just do their own thing without getting in the way of normal people.
No.
Was awesome. Absolutely fantastic camera work as always, Nev.
Oh, thank you. Very nice of you to say so. Yes, and one of my legs ached the following day because I was crouching down for a lot of those shots as well. But it's my own fault for getting old, isn't it? But no, it was a great day and great chat, and there'll be some more later in the show.
Yeah, and I will say we did have a kind of group discussion, didn't we, Nev, in the kind of meetup chat, the WhatsApp chat group, that we might kind of make this a yearly event?
Yeah, we're having some discussions about this time of year, see if we can do it to make it an annual event, especially if it's a non-air show day, because it's just much easier as far as traffic and parking and that kind of thing is concerned. So, yeah, we'll have to have a look at it and see if we can do that. That would be absolutely awesome if we could.
Yeah, and Armando, I honestly, I did try. I brought 2 lucky dips the weekend before for the lottery and to try and get you over for the day, but unfortunately, didn't come off.
Yeah, what an amazing crowd! I really wish I could have been there in it. Not that it was that long ago, but it brought back memories, and it was great to see on the YouTube feed names to faces to names that we see in the chat room all the time. Very cool. I gotta admit, I shall not be trusted ever again, because I had lunch with Steph right before she was about to board her flight. To give her the remainder of my British pounds and a UK iPhone charger. So I actually did know she was on the way.
Kept that quiet. Well done. So we're going to hand things over to you, Armando, to introduce the next awesome video segment, because this is pretty damn good.
Yeah, so if you remember from last week or last episode, I got the chance to do an interview with the NOAA P3 crew and Commander Khan, who was just a great representative. So parked right next to them was the WC-130J crew, otherwise known as the J crew. Also the Hurricane Hunters on the Air Force side. And before I play the video, there was a sheet of paper on the inside of the aircraft right by the meteorologist's station, with every hurricane that this aircraft had flown in since 2004. And some of the names that I pulled off were Hurricane Irene, Katrina, Ike, Matthew. There was just some of the most memorable hurricanes that we've had in recent history. This aircraft has flown. And until I got a chance to speak with the crew, I didn't know there was much of a difference between the Air Force mission and the NOAA P3 mission. So, yeah, let's go ahead and play that out and see what they have to say.
All right, guys. I'm here with Lieutenant Colonel Ivan DeRoche, right?
Yes.
Sir, what outfit are you part of?
I'm part of the 403rd Wing, 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. Most people know us as the world-famous hurricane hunter.
I was kind of joking with him, saying he walks around with a bow and arrow just hunting hurricanes, right? Is that now? There can't be that many units that do hurricane hunting, right?
Well, there's only one military unit. There used to be more squadrons when active duty shared the mission, but in 1993 it became an all Air Force Reserve mission.
Okay.
And then NOAA has their hurricane hunters. They do atmospheric research worldwide, year-round, and they also go into hurricanes in their 2 P3s for some research. But our main job is the active reconnaissance of storms that threaten the U.S.
Okay, so that's the big difference between the P3 and the C-130 is you guys are getting real-time data or near real-time data from the storm.
Yeah, everything that we collect goes out on an average about every 10 minutes to the National Hurricane Center. So it's fresh when it gets there.
Yeah. Now tell us a little bit. So you have the MC-130, or this is a C-130J,
WC-130J.
Right? WC-130J.
So what makes it different than any other C-130J is we retain the navigator because we fly in bad weather. A guy primarily on the radar for safety of flights, big deal. And then we put some weather equipment in the back, a couple smart dudes that know how to use that stuff, and it turns into a WC-130 instead of a C-130. The weather palettes the plane can be deconfigured in about 6 to 8 hours. Everything can roll off, and then it's a standard C-130J ready for whatever cargo missions out there.
Okay. Now, how long have you guys been flying the J model for?
So they showed up at Keesler in 1998, and that began the test of the J model program. And we started flying, I think it was 99 was the first test for the Hurricane.
Okay, so it's been a while. Huh?
And then we went full up conversion from the H to the J when Katrina hit us in 2005. We were kind of using both planes for at that time, and then after Keesler got wiped out, and we just said, that's it, H models are gone, it's a J model game.
Wow. So did you notice pretty big difference going from the H to the J model?
There is a big difference. Well, we don't have the flight engineer anymore. In the legacy airplane, it was all steam gauges and dials. A lot of stuff to monitor. The flight engineer was focused on systems. Well, all that's maintained by the mission computers now, and you get the ACAWS warning systems like most modern airplanes. So the flight engineer's gone. We did retain the navigator for safety of flight in the storms. Yeah. And then the performance is totally different. Engines are more powerful, of course. They're new, more modern. The propeller design changed from the old 4-blade Hamilton standard to the carbon fiber propeller, so they're much more efficient. And then the engines, obviously, more efficient and more powerful. So our cruise speed's about 30 knots faster, but the big difference is the fuel flow. We're getting that at about 1,500 pounds an hour less.
Okay.
So that's significant.
So what's a typical either range or time frame that you're flying when you're doing a...
So if we're going for endurance, going to hang out and fly as long as we can somewhere, you can get a little over 14 hours with the externals. And our typical hurricane mission is somewhere around 11, give or take, hours.
Okay.
It's very common to see 12, 12 and a half. We show 2 hours before. We brief, we do all our stuff, figure out where we're going, what we're doing. And then our en-route time plus our 5 to 6 hours loitering in the hurricane and back.
Wow.
It'll be a 12-hour mission.
So is that pretty fatiguing? So you're doing 5-6 hours inside the storm. What's that like, flying a C-130 inside the storm?
That's the tough part to explain, because it's like, all right, aviation guys, continuous light, occasional moderate, and occasion holy crap. So it's obviously a lot of rain. Yeah. Hurricane flights are done at 10,000 feet pressure. So they're low pressure systems. The stronger they are, the deeper the pressure. So on the radar altimeter, our absolute altitude in a Cat 5 hurricane will be like 6,500 feet, even though the pressure altimeter is still saying 10.
Goodness.
But we fly standard weather altitudes. 9,900 happens to be one.
Yeah.
And we hang out at 10 because when we release the weather instruments through them, the weatherman in the back wants it to fall through that standard altitude. So we stay 100 feet above.
So do you notice is there a pretty significant difference between, say, a Cat 3 or a Cat 5 flying a hurricane, or is a hurricane and each one's got its own?
They all got their own name and their own personality.
Yeah.
So the things that really affect turbulence is any interaction with terrain. So when we're in the Caribbean and we're at 10,000 feet pressure, but if you're flying something that's near Haiti where the mountains are 9,000 feet, you get a lot of mechanical mountain wave type turbulence as a result of that. Those are the things when you're downwind of the mountains, you really need to think about that because it will beat you up just like mountain wave turbulence and it can damage the plane. But typically, it's sustained light for 5 to 6 hours, some moderate. The eye wall area, the last 30 miles on your run in and your first 30 miles getting out of the eye, that's the most intense thunderstorms. It's the eye wall structure. Everybody's familiar with that. And that's the bumpiest. Well, we're only in it for 10 minutes. We're doing 3 miles a minute, 180 knots indicated when we're flying the storm. That's our rough airspeed. And so 10 minutes of the moderate to occasional severe in the eye is clear. You look up, you'll see blue skies during the day. You see stars at night. Yeah, yep. And then back in it for another thick 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then after that, it just depends on the banding of the storm and how physically large they are.
Yeah.
Some hurricanes, the average hurricane, we fly 105 miles from our run-in into the center and then 105 miles outbound on the intercardinal heading. So we'll start northeast, go to southwest. We always make a left turn and take the tailwind to the other corner and come back and do it again. So we'll do that 4 to 5 times in our mission profile. We're back in the center every hour and 30, 40 minutes, depending on how much tailwind you get on that crosswind leg. And most hurricanes, the hurricane force winds will go out maybe 50, 60, 70 miles.
Okay.
And then, the TS winds drop off from there. Occasionally, you get a storm like Hurricane Katrina. Massive. The hurricane force winds went out 125 miles. The tropical storm winds went out 175 miles.
Yeah.
So all of our standard, how we treat a storm and we fly it, all that had to change.
So from a mission planning standpoint, are you getting that from satellite data, or are you literally just high-fiving with the crew before you to...
The best intel is the guys that are just getting out of it, the data from the last storm. So a typical profile, the Hurricane Hunter aircraft are running 6 hours in the storm, 6 hours off, and 6 hours in the storm until it gets within 300 miles of U.S. coastline. And then the Hurricane Center wants us in there all the time. So we'll fly 6 hours and we're getting out and the next guy's coming right in behind us. So until it makes landfall or turns away and is no longer a threat, we're always in it when it's within 300 miles of the U.S. coast.
Now you guys have a weather officer on board, correct?
Right. So the weather officer is an Air Force meteorologist by trade, and then they come to us, and there's no school for it, so our squadron is the schoolhouse for the hurricane hunting. So whatever your crew position is, whatever mission training you need, it happens in-house. And weather officers are the tough ones, because pilots, you send them to Little Rock to go through C-130J school, and then they just come to Keesler and learn a little bit about risk mitigation and flying through bad weather, and you get some on-the-job training in the hurricane, and then you're good. Well, the weather guy, it's totally different for them. They're learning in the hurricane environment, because all the Met systems are usually a weather station somewhere on the ground, where now you're in this moving thing, shaking, trying to take readings on screens that are, vibrating and bouncing. So their job's different.
I love that you just said that the pilots come in, they learn how to fly in a hurricane. A couple weeks, they're good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
literally, most of the pilots when they about 90 days for mission training, and literally that's just a couple weeks.
Well, and Colonel Ragusa was talking about, there's no other replacement. There's no sim for flying through a hurricane, right?
No, there's not.
You just got to get in there and do it, right?
And the biggest thing is, most pilots, they pay attention to the radar to avoid weather. Mm-hmm. Well, we're paying attention to the radar with the nav to figure the softest spot to penetrate the weather the whole 6 hours. Most people is like, I might have to cross a line, find the soft spot, or I might turn around and go the other way, deviate and go around it. Well, that doesn't work for us.
That's amazing. So, and you guys are probably flying with a relief. So a relief pilot also, right?
We do our best. That's one of our risk mitigators. As we try to take a third pilot so you can rotate through the seats and get some rest. But I mean, Air Force rules, we can have 2 pilots on a 16-hour crew day. And as long as both autopilots
standard mobility rules.
Yeah, standard mobility rules.
So you brought in some of the risk management. What are some of the risks, either through mission planning? What are those real risks that are to the crew, to the airplane when you're flying in a storm?
Okay. Well, lightning's a big one. We do get struck by lightning on occasion. The toughest part about lightning is seeing a signature on a radar. You don't have one. A lot of the eyeballs are used. Tough to see it in the day when you're IMC all the time. Nighttime, when you're making a run in on an active eye wall, it's like strobe lights. It's just lightening up. You just know it's there. Lightning's a big one. The eye wall structure itself, you're gonna have to ask one of the weather scientists, but there's vortices inside the eye wall, similar to a small tornado, and they present as a hook echo. So obviously, we're paying particular attention to make sure we avoid anything like that. And when a storm is dying, it's some of its most turbulent features in the eye wall, especially when it's getting filled in with dry air. The weather guys call it dry air entrainment, when dry air's coming in and killing the hurricane. That's when it's some of its most turbulent times in the eye wall, is when it's dying like that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Inside, we were taking the tour, and it looks surprisingly like any other C-130, like a slick C-130, except for those 2 stations up front.
It's exactly like every other C-130J, except those roll-on stations. They bolt to the floor, and you hook up the cable into the junction boxes on the side of the airplane, and now it's a WC.
And the loadmaster does get to shoot a cannon, right?
So they go through the loadmaster training like any other C-130 loadmaster. And then we do in-house training. They get trained to basically a basic weather observer level. And they drop the drops on, so they need to understand the weather code and whether or not it's good data that's coming back to the aircraft, and how to QC it and eliminate something that's really an erroneous data from the data stream.
That's great. So if somebody wanted to get involved, so you said it's essentially a reserve.
It's all reserve, right? Air Force Reserve, yes.
So if somebody wanted to get involved, first of all, where would they go to find that? Probably just Google Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunters,
Air Force
right?
Reserve, so we're military, so you're going to have to deal with recruiters. If you're coming in off the street, you're dealing with recruiters. If you're in the Air Force, then there's ways to be gained by another Air Force Reserve unit, whether you're transferring from active duty or Guard or Reserve. The guys inside don't know how to get to your unit. But outside, you're dealing with a recruiter, And because we're a small, special mission, we also interview. I mean, people need to understand what they're getting into. I mean, it's not a job for everybody.
Well, I mean, off the top of my head, the only two special mission C-130 units I can really think of is you guys and the guys out of New York with the skis, right? Like,
Well, there's actually a couple more. There's guys that fly the firefighting missions. The Colorado Springs Air Force Reserve C-130s.
Okay.
They're a special mission. They do MAFS, the aerial firefighting. And the guys up in Youngstown, another Air Force Reserve unit, do the aerial spray for spray, like when they had the oil spill, spraying the things to dissolve the oil and stuff in the Gulf. They do aerial spray missions. So those are also Air Force Reserve special missions.
And that's exactly why we do this sort of podcast is, I think every month I discover this new niche, this new corner of aviation where you go, man, that would be so cool to do that, huh?
Yeah, this is definitely different.
Yeah.
Did Colonel Ragusa tell you how it started?
No.
Okay, so in 1944, U.S. Army Air Corps guys are training Brits how to fly. They're doing their basic pilot training during World War II down in South Texas. And there was a hurricane out in the Gulf, and the Brit pilot told Joe Duckworth, the Army Air Corps pilot, hey, I bet you can't fly that little T-6 Texan into that hurricane out there. And Joe Duckworth said, hold my beer and watch this. And that's how hurricane hunting was born. He and his navigator went out. They flew through the hurricane. They got into the middle of it, and they came back, and they told the base weather guy about it. He's like, no kidding, really? And they took the weather guy for a ride. A little T-6 Texan, a single-engine trainer.
Yeah.
And they came back, and that's the birth of hurricane hunting.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we always finish each interview with one question, and that is, if money was no object,
okay,
and you could fly any airplane in the world, past or present or future, what would that airplane be?
When I was a kid, it was always the Blackbird. You had to watch the SR-71. It was really cool, And I think that'd probably be the one.
Yeah.
I don't know, P-51 Mustang's pretty cool,
That would
too,
be
if
pretty
you're
cool.
nostalgic.
Yeah, there's a couple around here in the Charlotte area, P-51s, and every time, I'm trying to hand my card over there, see if I can get on one. SR-71 Blackbird, amazing cool choice. And I know there was just recently some articles about F-117s coming back, and they're still using them, so maybe there's still a shot.
Maybe a shot. Who knows?
Awesome, sir. I appreciate the time.
Oh,
Thank you
bet.
so much.
Anytime.
Well done, Armando.
All right, guys. I'm here with Lieutenant Colonel Ivan
He's playing it again. That's that good. He's playing it again. No, well done, Armando.
Very cool.
Great,
Very cool.
Great quality audio and visuals.
Yeah, apologies to Nev once again for my cable management. I'll keep saying it every week. Once we get that wireless microphone kit, we'll work on that.
Yeah, I was being a bit mean there, wasn't I? But no, what a great job you did there, and what an interesting story, isn't it, about the aircraft? And Neil Lamworm was saying in the chat room, actually, he says that the duty time is very surprising, especially in such a harsh environment. And I must admit that sounds quite grueling, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was actually surprised by that myself when he was talking about 14 and 16-hour crew days, because I've watched some of the videos of those guys flying, and I mean, they are, I think it was the last, the P3 pilot who said, you're wrestling an alligator, right? I mean, that's pretty impressive. And I was thinking, even watching it back, we've talked a couple times about, have you seen the Northern Lights from an aircraft? Well, can you imagine how few people have flown into the eye of a hurricane, looked up and seen stars in the middle of the night?
Yeah, some of that footage that you had on last week's show, and that from inside the actual hurricane itself, it's just one of those things, as you said, unless you see it on a video, which like last week's show, that's one of those things you're not going to get to see as a run-of-the-mill pilot, commercial pilot, or whatever, because you just wouldn't fly into that kind of situation.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's it's kind of a joke. I can imagine a fighter pilot coming to a mobility pilot and saying, hey, look, everything I can do. And he's doing barrel rolls and circles and, loops and all that stuff. And a C-130 pilot going, yeah, well, have you flown through the eye of a hurricane?
Yep, just going back to the chat room again. Captain Jeff is joined us in the chat room. Hello to you, Captain Jeff. He's put some bits on there. When he was in the MAC, what's that stand for, Armando? Come on, help me.
That was Military Airlift Command back in the day,
right.
now called AMC.
Yeah, he believes it was 16 for 2 pilots, 24 for 3. Long days. Yeah, definitely long days. But Neil Lamworn says there must be an awesome coffee table book in hurricane hunting.
Well, maybe we can suggest that over to Nick at APG to do a plane tale on them, because I love that how he said the beginning of this was the relationship between the U.S. and the U.K. once again pops up, in the 1950s and flying a T-6 into a hurricane. So maybe we'll shoot that over to Liz over at APG.
So what have you got planned for us next in Armando? You've obviously had the last 2 awesome segments you took there. Any more kind of bits coming up soon that you can tell us about?
Well, so nothing official yet. However, I will be heading out to Reno air races for the Pylon Racing School here on 1 June. So I'll be out there as on the ramp staff, so kind of as an assistant ramp boss in the sport class, which is the biggest class. But why I bring that up is the pilots and the crews that come out to Reno are some of the most amazing people with the most amazing aviation stories. So I will have my whole little Pelican case with the podcast kit, and hopefully get some good interviews out there with those guys.
Looking forward to that, Nev, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thank you.
So, Nev, while you're there, you can introduce the next part segment for the show.
Yeah, because we had so many people turn up to our meeting, which was, I think, about 35, something like that, which was superb at Duxford. So we've actually put this into 2 parts. So here is part 2 of our chat with our listeners.
My name is Javed. We've flown in from Thruxton this morning.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
son and I.
So now, Thruxton, remind me whereabouts that is?
Hampshire, towards the west-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your flight time here, roughly how long?
About an hour, just under.
Very cool. So, and you're flying today in a
DB9.
What is that? The Aston Martin?
Not the DB9, yeah. Lots of controllers get confused.
Yeah,
I need
I
to
can
tell
imagine.
them, yeah, this one has wings.
Absolutely. Mind you, the speed these things they go down the road. So who makes the DB9? The DB9?
Sakata. DB9, Tango Bravo 9.
Right,
Yeah,
very
Sakata.
cool.
It's a French aeroplane.
Ah.
They don't make them anymore, unfortunately.
Oh wow! What a big wow! We need to have a look at this plane. This is quite exciting. Now you brought a little friend with you as well, I noticed.
Yes.
So what's your name?
Dian, can we see? What's your name?
Dear oh dear. Do you like flying? Do you like being in the aeroplane?
He absolutely loves it. Yeah. It doesn't take it much to for him to twist my arm and he says, "Daddy, let's go flying," and we're in the air.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming here. We're just going to grab Nick, I think, if I may. Nick, before we... Hello. I'm only getting my own back. Oh, now you have something very interesting in your hand there, actually, don't you?
I do. Adam has just given me a notice from Heathrow, which is entitled the Withdrawal of Anderson Procedure. And apparently it's a special notice issued in the tower there, which means that all the procedures they apparently put in place when I was flying from Heathrow are now no longer effective.
Right, okay, suddenly the skies are a safer place then,
well, for example, they're going to put the ATIS, which they used to issue every 5 minutes when I was in the air, is now going to be back to its normal length of every 90 minutes.
Good, right.
Controllers are made aware of estimated off-block time and call sign of the Anderson flight, so they can all presumably prepare. It's just... I'm going to have to look at this in detail.
Right, okay.
Because I don't want to...
You had no idea that you were causing so much trouble every time you arrived at Heathrow?
No. And I'm rather pleased now that they won't have quite so much work to them.
Right,
they can go
the
back
man hours that have been saved.
Yeah, well, they can go back to sitting back in their chairs with their feet on the console now and drinking tea and occasionally issuing clearance.
As and when they feel like it, yes, of course. Well, we'll speak to the man himself if that's okay. So, hello, Adam. You are
Matt.
responsible for said procedures.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I found it lying in the office the other day. So
just kicking around.
Yeah,
absolutely. and they presumably can now be filed.
Yes, a lot of our workload has disappeared. Yes, very much so.
What is this? Allocated a stand. If possible, stand allocated to Anderson flight is occupied by another aircraft.
Yeah.
What?
Well, we don't have to do that anymore, do we?
I get the sneaking suspicion a beautiful friendship has come to a terrible...
I've framed a copy. It's in my car. I've framed a copy. I'll give it to you later.
Right, good. Lovely. Anyway, Adam, welcome.
Thank you.
You flew here?
Yes, I was in economy in Pip's Cherokee.
In economy. What was the in-flight meal like?
Disappointing.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Drink service?
Non-existent.
Wow. Okay.
How almost like fly with British Airways, but you know.
Nev shaking his head horribly behind us. So roughly how long was the flight?
About 45 minutes, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And how did he do?
Yeah, they both did very well.
They both did
There was some good CRM going on in the cockpit, and yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was good. Fantastic
Now
day
you
for flying as well.
come here quite regularly.
Yes.
Because we were here with ironically Dr.
Yes,
Steph,
yeah,
who is also
a few
here
weeks ago, wasn't
a
it?
few weeks ago.
Yep, yep.
What for you? What's the thing that's so amazing about Duxford?
I think for me it's the atmosphere. You know, looking around, we've still got the old, hangars here, and wandering around, you can walk along all the old buildings, the old ops room. The sort of the sector control room of the Battle of Britain that was here, and for me it's actually that film, the Battle of Britain, was it 1969? That was filmed a lot around this airfield, so it's just that sense of history that you get from walking around. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having a good nose round later. Anyway, I'm sure we'll catch up with everybody later.
Yes, no doubt.
Just going to go very quickly over to a couple more people I want to grab if we can. Hello, sir. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Chris, and I'm a bit surprised to be suddenly approached by a person in a plain-talking podcast shirt, but I'll try and gather myself together.
We
and
arrive in
talk
stealth mode.
intelligently.
This is the thing, absolutely. And what brings you to Duxford?
Well, it's obviously here for the gathering and the get together,
Fantastic.
and of course the fantastic weather which you arranged for us.
I
I'm
know,
very impressed.
absolutely. As I was saying to Nick earlier, I've been doing a lot of praying this week in the hope that we might have some decent weather for it. Now, I remember, I think the very first time you and I met was Farnborough a couple of years ago now.
It was.
And you took some amazing photographs of the little panel thing that we did. Have I got that correct?
Yeah, you have, and I've also got some photographs of Al and Steph, deeply involved in their chicken nugget eating
Indeed,
contest.
and there's more possibly about that later.
Oh, good.
Where we realised that, of course, there is a McDonald's just up the road, and I do feel that if we've got these people in the same room, that we can't really miss an opportunity like that, I think.
Absolutely.
So we're sort of frightened the locals. But now you've a long-suffering wife next door?
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, I don't know about long suffering.
Absolutely. So do you have any interest in aviation
Yes,
at all?
I do. I even like the smell of aviation fuel.
There is something about it here, isn't it? Yeah. Have you guys been to Duxford before?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what is it that you think that makes Duxford such a special place?
Well, the weather today. I mean,
Well, yeah, absolutely.
See.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as like we were saying earlier, actually, because it's a working airfield, isn't it?
Yes.
You get the smell of the aviation fuel, as you were saying. It's just fantastic.
Yes,
well, thank you very much for coming along.
I'm Rob from Ealing, West London, and spotted the invite on Slack. Decided it had to be here.
Well,
Brilliant
quite right,
opportunity.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, a big surprise, obviously, as a big APG fan, of course, to have Dr. Steph here as well. We all knew Nick was going to be here,
Yeah, no,
but
absolutely.
Steph to arrive. So an added bonus, no doubt.
Yeah, very much so.
So your passion for aviation, where has that come from?
Just from about the age of 6, my first flight, and absolutely loved it since then. I've done a little bit of flying out of Wickham at Booker. And,
What sort of craft, like Cessnas and things?
172s, 152s, yeah. So not so much in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, but I don't think you ever lose the passion for it, really. It's just fantastic.
I haven't asked anybody this question yet, and you've made the only opportunity I get to do so with you. If you could have the choice to fly any aircraft that exists, whether retired or still in the air, if you could get behind the controls of one aircraft, what would be your dream piece of kit?
747.
Really? Oh, the Queen of the Skies.
Because always growing up watching them depart out over West London, and they just look so graceful.
They still do.
Fantastic. So
Yeah,
for me, always be that.
An excellent choice. Well, great to meet you. Thank you. Hello, sir. What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Steve. I'm English, but I'm from Norway. Well, lived in Norway for 40 years.
What on earth has possessed you to come and live here?
No, I don't live here.
Oh,
I live
no,
in
you
Norway.
don't. Yeah. Wow. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, whereabouts in Norway?
Stavanger, West Coast.
Very cool. So, what it is about the Norway that sort of brought you away from here?
ABBA.
Right.
Played a part. I can't lie.
Fair enough.
And also the language schools that they used to have. Where I used to come from. I come from Poole in Dorset.
Okay.
And the language schools, they just sound like a cool place to be. A lot cooler than Poole in 1976. Anyway.
Well, there is that. What's your passion for aviation? Where did it come from?
I was in the ATC when I was 14, 15, I suppose. I was just telling these guys the first time I ever left the ground was in a glider. And the second time was in a chipmunk. So and then was an airliner. I'd never been in an airliner before that. So try telling the kids of today that, eh?
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's not a consuming passion, but it's something which I've followed up through the years. I just love looking up at the sky, watching planes. That's about it.
I think there's a lot of people here that share your love of that. Neil, hello. How are you?
Not too bad.
Jolly good. Now where have you come from today?
Come from Rugby today.
Right, okay. Yes, roughly how long is your journey?
About an hour and a half, not too bad.
Not bad at all. Now, got to ask, how is the project?
Coming along, painting, as usual.
Is it like the Forth Bridge, where you basically never stop painting it?
It's worse. They don't have to raise their own money.
Right, yes, no, well played. So, have you been to Duxford before?
This is the first time I've actually come on a non-show day.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see it without massive crowds, and you can get a little bit closer.
It's very chilled out as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Much nicer. Okay, moving on then. Now, this gentleman I vaguely recognise.
Yes.
There's a definite family resemblance going on here. So, what's your name, sir, and where are you from?
I'm Dave, and I'm from Buckinghamshire.
Right, now Buckinghamshire, that's very near somebody else I know.
Yes, quite close. Not too far away.
Absolutely. Are you possibly in some way related to Nev?
I don't like to say that I am, but, possibly am, yes.
Right, could you possibly be a son?
Maybe.
Right, okay.
Can't give anything away.
No, fair enough. So, now, do you have any... Obviously, Nev has a massive love of aviation. Do you have much interest in it at all?
I just have an interest in kind of engineering kind of things, really. Engines, machinery, planes is one of those things, really.
So, let's go down that engine route then. If you could pick your favourite lump engine, I mean, what...
I don't know if I could even go that way.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, if you hear the engine, like the noise, I mean, for me personally, if I hear a Merlin engine, I mean, I get goosebumps because...
Just any kind of huge rumble of an engine which gives you... Anything which gives you goosebumps,
Right,
so it sounds loud enough, it'll give you that.
So it could be a Volvo B10M if there isn't an exhaust on it, for example.
It could be anything, yeah. Exactly, yeah. It's just a general combustion.
So, what's brought you here today?
Well, just Dad, really. I wasn't going to come up, but then I thought it's such a nice day, it'd be a shame not to come up here, really, and to experience Duxford, because I've never been here.
You've never been here before?
No, I've never been here, so it'll be...
what first impressions, then? What do you make? What do you think?
It's huge.
It is huge.
I didn't actually quite realise how big it was. I was thinking just maybe one small hangar or a medium-sized hangar, but it turns out there's a lot more than that, and there's a live airfield as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Do you know, that's the thing during our chat here that's become quite clear, is it's actually so nice to be at a museum with an active airfield.
Yeah,
it gives it something...
You get that feel, don't you? It's still an airfield at the end of the day. It's still got aviation flowing through it. It's not just dying away, really.
No, it somehow feels quite live.
Yeah,
very,
absolutely. Very
so,
nice
Fabian, hello. How are you?
Matt, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. How are you? So you arrived at Heathrow when?
This morning at 7:05.
Okay, cool. And you flew in from home?
Yes, from Düsseldorf.
Very cool. Now you say you had an unusual lift here, because your transport from Heathrow to here was a certain Dr. Steph.
Yes, that's true.
So you were literally about one of 3 people who knew that she was coming.
That's true, yes.
So it's good to know. You're very good at keeping a secret. That's great news.
Yes.
Have you been to Duxford before?
No, I've not, no.
Okay, what are your first impressions?
First impressions, I saw a few aircraft down there which looked quite interesting. One in a Monarch livery and I think a VC-10 and BOAC livery. Looking forward to checking that out further, yes. We had food first, of course, because we're hungry.
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I mean, Al hadn't eaten for like an hour and was getting quite stressed, wasn't he? So, yes, absolutely. There's... do you have much love for like the military side of things?
I'm not too into military, but it interests me a little, yes. But my knowledge in military aviation is not too big.
No, Well, that's fair enough. So when are you flying back?
Tomorrow at midday.
Okay. So you flew here with which airline?
Eurowings.
Eurowings, and going back with Eurowings.
Yes.
Cool. Very well. Well, I think that more or less concludes our little chat, and we'll catch up with you later.
It's safe to say that we thoroughly enjoyed ourselves, and I think we're definitely going to have to do this again next year, Nev, without question.
Yes, looking forward to that. And if we can get the weather as well, then so much the better. So we'll be playing out some more interviews and some chats that we have over the next few weeks that we did at Duxford as well. Looking forward to that. But it was a great day, and thanks to everybody for making it so special.
Now, Nev, during the visit that we had at Duxford, there was a kind of, special event, but one that doesn't happen all that often, which we all witnessed inside one of the hangars, wasn't there?
Yes, there was, and we'll be playing that out probably next week. Actually, where it's they've got all the hydraulics working and everything for the Concorde nose and visor. So we did a special piece with Adam Spink about that. So we'll be playing that out next week, and it was really interesting to hear the story about how all that works and why they needed to do it. So that was really good. So looking forward to that.
Yes, so as Nev said, loads more to come from Duxford, loads more pieces to come. There's also a lot of pictures. If you want to find or take yourselves over to, if you've got our Facebook page, you could find on there's a lot of the pictures that were taken during the day on the Facebook page. So take yourselves over there. If you can, have a look on there. So Armando, do you think we can book you in for next year's event?
You never know. I would love to go back out to Duxford, and I think I've told you guys before, Megan has only been to the UK in winter, so I would love to take her out in summertime, especially if you have that kind of weather.
Well, I'll prep the guest room now then. Ready. There we go. Excellent. So we are going to start to wrap the show up now then, but we are going to say a big thanks again to Armando for bringing us the awesome segment with the WC130J. Thanks for that, Armando. And of course, we're going to say a big thanks as well to Nev for all his awesome videography skills on our Duxford visit. Thanks to you, Nev, for your skills.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's great.
So we're going to be live again next Friday. Hopefully next Friday we'll be live. Hopefully Matt will be back with us in the PTUK studios as well next week. He's busy, I would imagine by now. He's probably not drunk because Matt, as we all know, never drinks. He has 2 alcoholic beverages, and that's about it, I think, for Matt. I think he's enjoying himself at the wedding that he's at this evening. So hope to see Matt again next week on the show. So what are we doing next week, guys? Any exciting things planned for next week? Nev, what's on the cards for you next week?
A couple of secret things that I can't tell you about at the moment, but all may be revealed later in the week. Yes, not too much travelling this week, I'm pleased to say. So that'll be a nice change. So yeah.
Armando, any exciting things planned for you next week?
No, not a whole lot. I'll probably get a flight or two in, and other than that, it's some garage shelving to build and PTUK next week. That's the only things on my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 3 days in the truck next week, so I'm looking forward to that. Actually, big hello to my boss, Stuart. He's watching the show, so hello to you, Stuart. He's been watching. He very much enjoyed the last segment that we played because he missed Duxford. He was going to come, but he couldn't make it. So hello to you, Stuart. And look out for next week's show when we play some more of those bits. But so we're going to say a big thanks to everyone in the YouTube chat room who have joined us this evening on the live show, and not also forgetting the people who download us every week via the audio shows via iTunes and Stitcher and Podbean and all the other podcasty type download apps that we use on our mobile devices. So that's it. That's where we are going to start, or we're going to wrap up episode 269 of the show. Anything else, guys, before we hit the...
No, I don't think so. Although we were going to, we're looking forward to doing our 300th show, obviously. But we could do with some ideas about where we might want to hold that. So if anyone's got any suggestions, either stick those in the chat room or send them to us at podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and we will have a look at it for consideration. We've come up with a number of suggestions so far, most of which are well outside our area of affordability. Yes. But let's see how we get on. And yeah, we're looking for some suggestions. So so you've got 31 shows to come up with a solution for us. So let's see how we get on.
Oh, and bear in mind as well, guys and girls, that our 300th show will be in the January time, so it'll be a bit chilly. So outside OBs, Nev, probably not such a good idea.
Well, no, but we'll see how we get on. If we can get to the right place and we can get it for free or not much cost, then we'll see how we get on. Yeah.
So that's it then, guys and girls. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend, whatever you're doing across the globe. Thanks for watching. Take care. And from me, Carlos, here in the PTUK studios, it's goodbye.
See you. Bye. Bye, guys. Have a nice week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Woohoo.